Good morning, Garden Church. So excited to be here this morning. As you can see on the screen, my daughter prepared that great, beautiful piece of art for me a couple years ago for my birthday. And it was a great reflection of the servant story that I'll be able to share with you today. During this time of the coronavirus pandemic, it's given us a lot of time in our lives to reflect about a lot of things. And for myself, I grew up in a city remote from here in El Centro, along the borders of California, Mexico, and Arizona. And through that, my father was born from my grandfather, who landed there in the 1900s, building the railroad. And he was well known for his hard work and dedication. And that was passed down through the generations to my father and to myself. And then through that effort, I was able to see the Lord throughout my childhood kind of instilled that in my life. And I took claim to the promise that the Lord had in Proverbs 16:3, to commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. And as I continue to focus on that throughout my life, and as I continue to reflect during this coronavirus pandemic, it became obvious that the Lord was working in my life all throughout many crises throughout the world. Back in 9/11, as we notoriously know, there was a world tragedy. And it was at that time, actually, I was in Boston for a one-day trip and had gone there and was scheduled to fly back home that morning. And instead of flying back that morning, I would like to say that golf saved my life. I actually decided to go out at 5 o'clock in the morning to the woods of Massachusetts rather than take the first flight home. And as I came into the clubhouse, I saw a lot of chaos. And as I came in, I saw what was happening. I picked up the phone. I called Kathy. And I somewhat startled her. I told her, honey, I'm okay, and I'm coming home. And she said, have a safe trip home, and hung up. Later did she know actually what happened. And so I spent the next 3 days, 3,000 miles driving, and that was a time in my life that I will never forget, in which the Lord spoke to me many, many promises in regards to my life, in regards to the blessings, in regards to how He was going to use me. And 1 month later, when I returned, my first daughter was born. You jump forward about 8 or 9 years later to the economic crisis of the late 2000s. The Lord once again was speaking through my life. Through that hard work and dedication that I mentioned earlier, I'd actually had done pretty well at work. I had made myself advance through the career at PwC. I'd made partner, had a wonderful marriage, 3 beautiful children. And it was at that time that I actually learned about another aspect of what I had gathered from my father and my grandfather, which is actually somewhat of a generational curse around focusing on financial stability. And that had come to an event where I had just come to my knees and asked God for forgiveness. It was a tough time in my life, and I sought after mentoring and support from Pastor Dave. And he guided me to a book from Bob Buford entitled Halftime, Moving from Success to Significance. And it was at that time I established my mission in life, which was to be a world-class Christian who would significantly impact others in their quality of life. Now, to some of you who've been with the church a long time, that may seem a little familiar. And I actually challenge you, if you actually remember what our mission statement was from the church 10, 15 years ago, go ahead and type that in online and encourage one another, because it's actually pretty similar. Jump-starting and moving ahead a little bit further, in 2017, my firm allowed me to take a sabbatical. And for 6 weeks, rather than going on vacation, Jessica and I went to Rwanda, and it was a beautiful time. For those of you who don't know, Atara is a group of women who are genocide survivors who, through their hard work and effort, learned the trade of sewing and have since established a sustainable income. And Jessica and I went over there to be able to help jumpstart that business in Rwanda. And I didn't know until I arrived there, but PwC actually has a Rwanda office, and they welcomed us. They welcomed the Atara and BFR employees there, and they just welcomed us with open arms and introduced us to the community, introduced us to the business leaders. And before we left Rwanda, the high-end hotels were selling their products. And most importantly, we saw the women just be inspired by tremendous opportunities to have an income that they could have sustainable in their lives. And when I remember going back on that plane, it was just so joyful to see that the Lord was working and had amazing plans for Atara. As we entered into this year of serving others, there became an opportunity to take a larger role in Atara. And at first I was somewhat hesitant, but after much prayer and counsel, this was the time. And since that time, we've put a call to many of you, and many of you have come to understanding that God has called you as well. We now have over 50 volunteers helping in Atara, both inside and outside the garden. We've seen our relationship expand. We now are selling products all throughout the United States through distributors. We have a wholesale relationship with a fabric manufacturer, and we're having great plans in store for building a new workshop and also establishing a sewing school once again to create an opportunity for more artisans to learn the craft of sewing. And so as we look into where we are today, there's a tremendous opportunity to be able to take a step away from where we are in the coronavirus pandemic and be able to look at where God is calling us to go. Some of you may have recently studied or will study soon the Jonah complex in your CGs. And similar in that case is you can either run away or you can run towards God. And so much of what we're hearing in the news is to stay in your home and be able to just focus on your family. And you can do that, but you can also do that through serving others. And Rwanda and Atara is a great opportunity to do so. I had a chance to talk to Solomon earlier this week, and he actually mentioned that, I don't know if you're aware, but in Rwanda as well, there is a work at home or stay at home order as well. And it's unfortunate because the women obviously are in a poor economic situation in which they are not able to work at home, but they are required to be able to feed their families. And so I actually put a call out to all of us today to be able to financially support the Atara women and the artisans themselves. If the Lord presses upon your heart to be able to financially give, I would encourage you to do so today. That money will 100% go to the artisans to be able to help support, provide food to their families, as well as the basic necessities to be able to move forward. They aren't sure if it will end in the next 2 weeks, 2 months, or beyond, but they are very encouraged and loved by knowing that the Lord has them in full control. As I mentioned also, we have a great program we're embarking upon, and it's enlarging the sewing school. We are looking for a group of sponsors to be able to help new women that are actually that have children in the Kunda program today that will learn the trade of sewing. And we have the women identified, and for $85 a month for 12 months or for $1,000, each woman will be able to be supplied with food for their families for the year, a sustainable income, and more importantly, be able to learn the trade of sewing to be able to then have a life for their family. And so for that gift, I would encourage you to think about that and see if the Lord would press upon your heart or with your family or with a group of families to be able to support a new artisan. And then last but not least, many of you are aware, but at www.atara.org, there's a great opportunity to continue to support Atara. We are open for business. We have product that we can send. And when you're online, you can buy bags, you can buy backpacks, etc., to be able to support either for yourselves or for your family members or friends, just to be able to show the love of Atara during this time. And so at this time, I want to be able to show you how you can be able to contribute. If you type in online right now, I support Atara, someone from the volunteer team of Atara will reach out to you after service to further connect. Once again, type in, I support Atara right now, and I see some of you are, to be able to claim forth what God is doing. And I highly encourage you to do so, and I'm excited to see what we can do through that opportunity. So in summary, I'd just like to take a step back. The Lord, once again, works through amazing times, and it's at times like this during the coronavirus pandemic where each of us are reflecting on our own lives. And rather looking inward is look outwards to where the Lord can guide you. And I look forward to journeying with all of us together. God bless.